Columbia is rather proud, and I think quite justifiably, of their distinguished new literary series. It's an album containing the voices of 12 of the greatest authors of our time, reading from their own works. Before I say any more about this series, let's hear just a few brief excerpts. Naturally, these excerpts will have to be so short that we can't get very far into their subject matter. But I think you'll find it interesting to hear the voices of these authors. First, here's Aldous Huxley discussing his own book, Brave New World.
Today I feel no wish to demonstrate that sanity is impossible. On the contrary, though I remain no less sadly certain than in the past that sanity is a rather rare phenomenon, I am convinced that it can be achieved and would like to see more of it. For having said so in several recent books, and above all, for having compiled an anthology of what the sane have said about sanity and the means whereby it can be achieved, I have been told by an eminent academic critic that I am a sad symptom of the failure of an intellectual class in time of crisis.
Next, John Steinbeck introducing one of his own short stories.
For a number of years, I was a partner in a small commercial laboratory in Monterey. Many strange things happened while we worked, and the following story, which I've called The Snake, happened almost exactly as I've written it. I don't know what it means. The story was finally published, and one of my favorite pieces of fan mail came from a small-town librarian. She said it was the worst story she had ever read anywhere. She was quite upset at its badness. Actually, it isn't a story at all. It's just something that happened, and it goes this way. Said it was almost dark when young Dr. Phillips swung his sack to his shoulder and left the tide pool. He climbed up over the rocks and squashed along the street in his rubber boots. The street lights were on by the time he arrived at his little...
Now, John Collier reading a very gruesome murder story, but in a very calm manner.
She enjoys herself. Yeah, said Burke, she did. That's what I love, said the doctor, because I'm not that way myself. She's not very deep mentally, all right. Say she's stupid, I don't care. Lazy, no system, well, I've got plenty of system. She's enjoyed herself. It's beautiful, it's innocent, like a child. Yes, if that was all, Burke said. But, said the doctor, turning his eyes full on him, you seem to know there was more. Everybody knows it, said Burke. A decent, straightforward guy comes to a place like this and marries the town floozy, Bud said bitterly, and nobody'll tell him. Everybody just watches. And laughs, said Buck. You and me, Bud, as well as the rest. We told her to watch her steps, said Bud. We warned her. Everybody warned her, said Bud, but people get fed up. When it got to truck drivers... It was never us, Doc, said Bud earnestly. Not after you came along, anyway. The town will be on your side, said Buck. That won't mean much when the case comes to trial in the county seat, said Bud. Oh, cried the doctor suddenly, what shall I do? What shall I do?
And Truman Capote reading one of his own stories.
Children on their birthdays. Yesterday afternoon, the 6 o'clock bus ran over Miss Bobbitt. I'm not sure what there is to be said about it. After all, she was only 10 years old. Still, I know no one of us in this town will forget her. For one thing, nothing she ever did was ordinary, not from the first time that we saw her, and that was a year ago.
Next, Edna Ferber, telling of an incident that happened when she visited a Nazi concentration camp.
What I saw there was so unspeakable, so subhuman, so paralyzing in its revelation of the depths of degradation to which the human race can descend, that I lost all sense of perspective. I shall not go into detail as to what I saw there.
Then we have Sir Osborne Sitwell.
It must be allowed that John Singer Sargent was a painter who lived for his painting, and that, albeit not of the first or even second order, not of the quality of the two other celebrated portrait painters that America has given us, not as sound in workmanship or as true in color as his fellow citizen, John Singleton Copley, nor as inspired a poet of his period as the great Whistler. Yet he can be compared in value, though not of course in the method of his painting, to such other fashionable portraitists of their epochs, as Sir Thomas Lawrence or Winterhalter.
Edith Sitwell, in addition to giving us some of her own poems, also reads
Two speeches from Act 1, Scene 5, Macbeth. Glamis, thou art an Cawdor, and shalt be what thou art promised. Yet do I fear thy nature. It is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way. Thou wouldst be great.
Then Sacheverell Sitwell reading
An excerpt from Mauretania. At 5 o'clock, over most of the town, if you listen for it, there is a confused murmuring. It is mysterious, like a stirring of the waters, or like something glittering out of a cloud of dust. The noise of it travels on the wind, or in the lull of it is deep.
In addition to the ones you've just heard, Columbia's literary series also contains the voices of Somerset Maugham, Catherine Ann Porter, Christopher Isherwood, and William Saroyan. All the authors read from their own works. Therefore, we certainly have the authentic interpretation in every case. For that reason, we have in these recordings a truly important document for all time. Can you imagine how valuable it might be for us if there had been such a wonderful means of preserving the voices of, let's say, Shakespeare or Chaucer? These recordings were made on location, wherever the authors happened to be, in Hollywood and some in Europe. The project took over 2 years to carry out, and the editor was Goddard Lieberson. The records in Columbia's literary series are available only as a complete set and cannot be obtained singly. Incidentally, the complete series would make a magnificent gift.